Imagine for a moment the distant echo of whispers through the centuries, stories shrouded in mystery, narratives that attempt to unravel the inexplicable. Where did the forces we call gods truly come from? Not as entities carved in stone or painted in frescoes, but as the very seed of our search for meaning, the ancestral projection of our deepest longings. Have you ever stopped to consider that perhaps, far beyond grandiose temples and solemn rituals, lies a more intimate truth, a spiritual bond that connects us to these figures of power in a way that transcends mere worship? This is the journey. We propose today an immersion into the mists of time and the human psyche, to explore not only the origin of these divinities that populate our myths, but also the invisible thread, the spiritual resonance that echoes through the ages, shaping our understanding of the world and ourselves. If this quest resonates in your soul, if curiosity drives you to uncover the deeper layers of our history and spirituality, then allow yourself to embark on this exploration with us. And if you feel this journey can enrich your perspective, consider joining our community, where the thirst for knowledge and the search for understanding meet. Your subscription is a step in this collective journey. As we contemplate the vast tapestries of mythologies around the globe, from the vibrant pantheon of ancient Greece, with its anthropomorphic gods weaving intrigues on Olympus, to the complex cosmogonies of Egypt, where Ra sailed the heavens in his solar bark, we perceive a common thread, an incessant quest to explain the forces of nature, the mysteries of existence, and the complexities of the human heart. Zeus, with his thunderbolt and authority, personified power and order, while Isis with her magic and devotion represented healing and motherhood. These figures were not mere allegories, they embodied fundamental aspects of the human experience, fears, hopes, and the very struggle for survival and meaning. And if we turn to Hindu traditions, the myriad of deities, each with their specific cosmic function, from Brahma the creator to Vishnu the preserver, and Shiva the destroyer and transformer, invites us to contemplate the cyclical nature of life and the universe. Epic narratives filled with battles between gods and demons reflect our own inner conflicts, the eternal dance between light and shadow that resides within each of us. Or let us look northward to Norse mythology, with its fierce gods like Odin, and Thor facing Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, an apocalyptic vision that speaks of the inevitability of change and courage in the face of the unknown. But amidst this diversity of forms and stories, can we glimpse a common origin, a starting point for this human need to divinize the world around us? Psychology offers some intriguing clues. Carl Jung, with his theory of the collective unconscious and archetypes, suggests that these divine figures may be manifestations of universal patterns in the human psyche, primordial images emerging from a deep layer of our mind, shared by all humanity. In this perspective, the gods would be projections of our own potentialities, our fears and our most archaic desires, personifications of the internal forces that shape us. Philosophy, in turn, invites us to question the very nature of reality and transcendence. From the pre-Socratics, with their search for the fundamental elements of the universe, to Plato with his world of ideas and Aristotle with his unmoved mover, humanity has always sought a fundamental principle, a first cause for all that exists. Are the gods the answer to this relentless quest, or are they a way to make sense of chaos, to find order in a universe that sometimes seems indifferent to our existence? And spirituality, in its countless forms, speaks of an intrinsic connection to something greater than ourselves, a vital force that permeates the universe and of which we are a part. This search for union, for transcendence of the ego, may be the root of our longing for divinities, for entities that personify this cosmic force and offer us a path to reconnect with it. Perhaps the gods are not separate beings from us, but representations of aspects of this universal energy that resides within each of us, waiting to be awakened. Have you ever wondered why certain stories and symbols resonate so deeply in our souls, even if we were not directly taught about them? Why does the figure of the hero, the trickster, the great mother appear in so many different cultures, under different guises, yet with a surprisingly similar essence? Could this be evidence of those Jungian archetypes, those psychic matrices, that shape our perception and experience of the world? And when we look at ancestral rituals, the offerings, dances, and prayers directed to these divinities, we can interpret them as attempts to establish communication, a dialogue with these mysterious forces. But perhaps on a deeper level, these rituals are also ways to connect with our own interior, to access those deeper layers of our psyche where these archetypes, these primordial energies, reside. Continuing our exploration, let us now dive into a mystery that echoes through the corridors of time. What is the exact nature of this spiritual bond that unites us with divine figures? Is it a connection of dependence, where we seek protection and guidance from the gods? Or is there something more intrinsic, a vibrational resonance between the human essence and the essence of these forces we personify as gods? Consider the ancient Egyptian belief in the immortality of the soul and the pharaoh's journey to unite with Osiris in the realm of the dead. This quest for eternal life, this identification with the divine, isn't it a manifestation of a deep desire to transcend mortality, to connect with something timeless and infinite that resides within our own being? Or think of Eastern meditative practices that seek union with Brahman, the ultimate reality, the cosmic principle that permeates everything. This search for unity, for the dissolution of the ego in an ocean of consciousness, doesn't it echo the same need for connection with the divine that we find in polytheistic religions? Perhaps the key to unraveling this mystery lies in understanding that the gods, in their myriad forms, are ultimately reflections of our own humanity elevated to a cosmic plane. Our virtues, our vices, our fears, and our hopes are projected onto these figures, which become mirrors in which we can contemplate our own evolutionary journey. The love of Aphrodite, the wisdom of Athena, the fury of Ares. Aren't these qualities and impulses that also reside within us in varying degrees and manifestations? And what if the spiritual bonds that unite us with these divinities were not ties of submission, but of recognition? The recognition that within us lie the seeds of those same qualities we admire and fear in the gods. The capacity to love unconditionally, the pursuit of wisdom, the courage in the face of adversity. All these are facets of the divine that manifest in our own humanity. Have you ever considered that the very language we use to describe the divine often draws on metaphors and analogies taken from our human experience? We speak of gods as parents, warriors, lovers. Aren't these anthropomorphic representations a way to make the incomprehensible a bit more accessible, to translate the vastness of the cosmos and the depth of the spirit into terms our finite minds can grasp? And when we encounter inexplicable mysteries, events that defy our rational understanding, we often turn to the idea of divine intervention. But perhaps this is merely a way of naming the unknown, of attributing to an external force what we have yet to comprehend within the intricate labyrinth of nature and consciousness. Consider the story of Prometheus in Greek mythology, the titan who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity, an act that symbolizes the rise of consciousness and the awakening of reason. Doesn't this myth suggest that divine power, the spark of creation, also resides within us in our capacity to learn, innovate, and transform the world around us? And what if the spiritual quest were not about finding an external God, but about recognizing and cultivating the divine within our own being? Practices of self-knowledge, meditation, the pursuit of virtue. Aren't these paths to reconnect with that divine essence that inhabits us, to access our own maximum potential? Think of the enigmatic figure of Hecate in Greek mythology, the goddess of magic, crossroads, and spirits. Her multifaceted nature, moving between worlds, doesn't it resonate with the complexity of our own psyche, with its conscious and unconscious layers, and our own journey through life's crossroads, making decisions that shape our destiny? Or observe the trickster figure in various mythologies, like Loki in Norse tradition, or Exu in Afro-Brazilian religions. These ambiguous beings, breaking rules and challenging order, don't they represent the very force of change and transformation, the need to deconstruct to rebuild, present both in the universe and in our own personal evolution? The very idea of sacrifice, present in many ancient religions, could be interpreted not only as an offering to external gods, but also as a metaphor for the need to renounce certain aspects of ourselves, attachments and illusions, to achieve a state of greater wholeness and spiritual connection. Delving deeper into the depths of this reflection, a philosophical and spiritual mystery emerges like a thick fog. If the gods are, to some extent, projections of our own psyche and personifications of cosmic forces that also reside within us, what then is the nature of ultimate reality? Are the gods separate, distinct entities with their own desires and agendas, or are they manifestations of an underlying universal consciousness, a cosmic fabric of which we are all a part? Consider the perennial philosophy, the idea that there is a single metaphysical truth, underlying all the world's religions and spiritual traditions, expressed in different ways through different cultures and symbols. Could the various divine pantheons be merely different faces of this same fundamental reality, different ways of naming the unnameable? And what if our search for gods were, at its core, a search for ourselves, for understanding our own inherent, divine nature? The journeys of mythological heroes, filled with challenges and transformations, aren't they metaphors for our own journey of self-discovery, our struggle to integrate our shadows and awaken our potentials? Have you ever wondered why, in moments of profound crisis or transcendental joy, we feel an inexplicable connection to something greater than ourselves? Could this be the subtle manifestation of that primordial spiritual bond, a glimpse of our unity with the cosmos? Consider the Hindu concept of Maya, the illusion that makes us perceive the world as fragmented and separate when, in essence, everything is interconnected. In this perspective, the gods could be powerful archetypes within this illusion, tools our mind uses to navigate the complexity of existence, to give form to the formless. And what if the evolution of our understanding of the gods throughout history, from feared forces of nature to more anthropomorphic and complex entities, reflected the very evolution of our consciousness? As our capacity for abstraction and introspection developed, so too did our conception of the divine, becoming more sophisticated and aligned with our growing understanding of the world and ourselves. What role does fear play in the creation of gods? Many ancient deities were associated with terrifying natural phenomena, like storms, earthquakes, and diseases. Were these entities a way to personify and perhaps attempt to control the uncontrollable, to find meaning in chaos and love? The goddesses of love and fertility, present in so many cultures, reflect our fundamental need for connection, intimacy, and the perpetuation of life. Aren't they the personification of one of the most powerful and transformative forces in the human experience? If the gods are spiritual bonds, how can we strengthen that connection? Is it through contemplation, meditation, the practice of empathy and compassion? By cultivating the qualities we admire in the divine within our own being, aren't we in a way drawing closer to their essence? Think of the figure of Quetzalcoatl in Aztec mythology, the feathered serpent, a god associated with wisdom, knowledge, and renewal. His duality, combining earth and sky, body and spirit, doesn't it reflect our own quest to integrate these seemingly opposing aspects of our existence? Or consider the philosophy of Taoism, which does not focus on anthropomorphic gods but on a universal principle, the Tao, the way of nature. The search for harmony with the Tao, with the natural flow of life. Isn't it a different way of connecting with that same primordial source that other traditions personify in deities? The very idea of fate, so prevalent in many Greek tragedies and other mythologies, could be interpreted not as an implacable external force controlling our lives, but as the manifestation of the consequences of our own choices and the intricate web of cause and effect that governs the universe. The gods in this context would be the weavers of this fate, representing the invisible forces that shape our journey. The answer to the mystery of the origin of the gods and their spiritual bonds may not lie in a distant pantheon or ancient scriptures, but in a deep understanding of our own nature. The gods in their purest essence can be seen as the crystallization of our highest aspirations, the personification of our limitless potential. The spiritual bond we feel with them is, therefore, a reflection of our own inner divinity, a resonance with the qualities and forces that also dwell within us. Throughout this journey, we have explored the rich tapestries of mythologies, the insights of psychology and philosophy, and the relentless spiritual quest for connection. We have seen how the gods evolved with our understanding of the world, reflecting our fears, hopes, and the eternal search for meaning. And perhaps the great revelation is that the divinity we seek is not out there, in a distant Olympus or an inaccessible heaven, but lies dormant within each of us, waiting to be awakened. The spiritual connection with the divine, therefore, is not a relationship of submission, but a recognition of our own transcendent nature. By cultivating wisdom, courage, love, and compassion in our lives, we are in fact honoring and strengthening that primordial bond, manifesting in our world the same essence we admire in divine figures. Think of the Hindu idea of Atman, the individual, divine spark that is ultimately identical to Brahman, the absolute. This philosophy invites us to recognize the inherent divinity in every living being, the underlying unity beneath all the diversity of the universe. The gods, in this context, would be specific manifestations of this Brahman, accessible to our limited understanding, or consider the concept of self-realization in many spiritual traditions, the awakening to our true nature, which is inherently divine. The spiritual quest, then, becomes an inward journey to remove the layers of illusion that prevent us from recognizing this divinity that has always been present. The very practice of prayer, present in so many religions, can be seen not only as a supplication to an external entity, but also as a moment of introspection, of connection with our own inner voice, with the wisdom and strength that reside at our core. Which aspect of this journey resonated most deeply with you? Share your reflection in the comments below. Your perspective enriches our collective search for understanding. And if this exploration touched your soul, leave a like, subscribe to the channel to continue unraveling the mysteries of existence together, and share this video with those who also yearn for a deeper understanding.